of Sand by Geetanjali Shree. Translated by Daisy Rockwell. Part 2. Sunlight. 34. A home humming with floating cotton threads and plant clippings. Wind blows and brick knocks against brick, creating a fresh idiom. When the house had been solitary, it had understood Betty's work. It had sat by quietly and respectfully. Betty would lean over an open page for an age, in obeisance to the goddess of work. At any given moment, the goddess may be pleased and slip in softly to sit down beside her. The pen rises by itself and begins to move across the page. An article, a story, a book begins to take shape. Nowadays, the house has grown brash. Each brick reaches up and stretches. Chits and chats occur. If someone particularly boisterous shows up, the walls think it great fun. They play with the visitors. The walls resound at their taps, as though air has been puffed into them. At Ma's touch, relatively softly, but when Rosie Bua's portly figure flits about, one doesn't even know whence the jingling starts and where it's an echo. The pillars on the gossip also jangle at the threshold. And Rosie, really, she might slap her hand down, or secretly scratch her ear, or smack her forehead in jest, causing a thrum, as though she well knows the walls jingle resound at her touch. Ma tries it too. At the tap of her fingers, instruments are summoned and notes emerge, sa re ga ma. At the tap of her feet, the punch tal plays, a jal tarang from this brick, an able from that, a veena from this column, a mridangam from that. Knock with your legs, you get a ghatam. If you rattle the chains of the swing, bells ring, a shehnai from pulling the sliding door. Blow on the dust, a conch, shake a flower pot, damru. The goddess of work peers in. She is frightened. Here's a party in full swung. But I'm the goddess of solitude. She slips away. Chapter 35. Ma said you don't work, you don't sleep. Look at the black circles under your eyes. You must start sleeping in the guest room. Betty didn't agree with what Ma said, but relented, exhausted by the heat. Ma said now it's not so hot. It's getting close to monsoon. She was happy just to open the windows, but not Betty. Betty turned on the AC and went to lie down in the guest room. The Bangles had won at last. They had kicked her out. She pushed away Rosie's and Amma's odds and ends, flotsam and jetsam, and cast her aching limbs and spent nerves onto the guest bed. The bangles will not jingle in the guest room. Betty took down the jangling bamboo chimes which she had brought from Bali with KK, wrapped them up so they wouldn't ring, and stowed them with the mobiles Rosie had made of tin feather cut out suspended from strings. I'll go check on Amma in the night. Anyway, she's fine now. She's got better since she has been living with me. She walks around, eats, drinks, chats merrily. Chapter 36. One night after summer had receded, there had been hours of rain, and now the sky had cleared. The moon weaved in and out amongst the clouds before alighting on a branch of the tree overhanging Ma's flower pots. Ma was seated in her chair, looking up at the moon, and she began to speak. To herself, or to the moon. Betty wanted to move closer and listen quietly, but she didn't get up. Chapter 37. When she got up, it was the aroma of coffee. She came out of the guest room rubbing her eyes, and a coffee cup producing the aroma appeared and proffering it KK's hand. Where am I? Betty looked around in confusion, as though she had gone to sleep at home and awoken somewhere else. The thief of sleep had lifted her up, bed and all, and plunked her down elsewhere. But no, this was her own home, the one decorated just the way she liked. Keeping KK away had worked until now. He went on long journeys. She had been avoiding him on the phone. Not today. I'll tell you which day might be suitable. It's not about Ma. Someone or others always showing up. Everyone will be awkward with each other. No one will feel relaxed and enjoy. That's the point. Why are you forbidding me? What could she say? What will you do if you come here? She couldn't quite say that. He used to come and work on his laptop, and Betty would work on hers. Peace all around. They would cook together, eat. They would relax in between, wrapped in one another's arms. Sometimes they would invite other people over in the evenings. When KK had to leave, he would leave. If he had to stay, he'd stay. He had the spare key if he ever needed to go to the airport or somewhere early in the morning. She would keep on sleeping and he would let himself out. But now none of this fits. But we'll see each other's faces. We'll look at each other with hidden passion. Betty found this crude. These were private matters, not to be played out in public. Am I only myself when I'm alone? In public I behave as others wish. But these were questions for other feminists. Betty no longer had the leisure to turn them over and examine them in her heart. Yes, of course. I'll introduce you to Amma. And here I have been, sleeping. He's out here already getting to know her. He came here straight from Kenya. Had Ma opened the door or had KK let himself in? Betty wondered, feeling a bit cross. Why does Ma get up alone? They didn't have a battalion of servants to take heed if she fell. You could just be lying somewhere alone, she scolded Ma. In her mind, she added, the way you were lying elsewhere alone. Hello, hello, said KK. The two of them, he and Ma, relaxed. Betty trying and failing. She felt put out. She stays awake all night, manages some sleep in the morning, said Ma, spraying a fountain of water over the freshly washed plants, a cup of coffee near her. KK standing close by. She's always getting up and shining her torch for me. That's why I get up quietly in the morning. Betty felt exposed. The layout of the house had subtly changed. What had once been kept outside was now part of the internal layout. But the rains have already started. Why water the plants? Betty objected, raining on Amma's picnic. You didn't tell me you had such good coffee in the house, was Ma's reply. What have these two been telling one another? Betty felt upset, as though one of her secrets had been revealed. She felt unclothed. That's why she averted her eyes, embarrassed at being caught so. She went to the bathroom and got her dressing gown, which she had taken out because of the new threat of visitors showing up at any time. The gardener, the maid, everyone showed up early in the morning or at any time. The family or even outsiders, people from the society, Betty couldn't wander about in a state of undress as she had before. I'll drink tea, she said with annoyance. Then she added, for the sake of formality, I take coffee with breakfast. Not even a hello, whispered KK in her ear. He had left Ma on the balcony to go make coffee. When did you get here? Betty didn't ask that because she didn't feel like it. Why did you come? She couldn't ask that either. How are you? That would require an affectionate tone. What are you here for? That would be downright rude. When are you leaving? Betty felt a bit out of temper. Relax. KK put his arms around her. She's cool. You go outside with Ma. I'll be right there, she replied sternly. She did sit down with them when she was drinking her tea, but the conversation was just between Ma and KK. Ma had suddenly become extremely interested in Kenya's Rift Valley. Betty left them gossiping and went inside to get ready. She took a shower and then stood by the window. When monsoon was in full swing, the sweet scent of the tiny neem flowers wafted in through this window. After the neem fruit sprouted, it dangled in bunches. Then the fruit would ripen and fall, plop, plop, as if there were small animals hiding in the leaves, mischievously taking aim and hurling the fruit at the heads of the passers-by below. As soon as they hit the ground, the neem fruit burst open, even if no one trod on it, and released a heady, sweet, sour scent. Would that scent rise to the window now? Or would the fennel, garlic, coffee for affection and come out on top? The poor neem fruit would lie smashed and forgotten. Beatty turned at the sound of KK's voice. He stood at the door as though he had never walked through it. Well, at least he shows that much respect. I came to get my scissors, he said softly. Take a look. I called. You probably have some missed calls. Then you didn't pick up. I thought, I'll go out in the morning and get them. Otherwise, I would have to go to the barber to get my mustache shaved off. I couldn't find scissors like those anywhere else. He was clearly a bit offended at having to explain. Betty smiled as she walked by him, and he pinched her lightly from behind. She jumped. Right at the moment, a bell rang. The arrival of Rosie and the departure of KK. Betty was at a loss. Should she introduce this one to that? She wondered with irritation. Or that one to this? As she dispatched KK angrily, he tried to give her a secret kiss, but was annoyed by her jerking back and pushing him away. My God, you're acting like I'm a leech. He moved away. If you say to, I'll leave the scissors, there's a hair coming out of your nostrils. It looks terrible. Do cut it off. Saying this, he left, as though his taunt had made them even. 38. Mothers know their dates. Oh, that happened the year Pappu had his mundan. Or, that was around when Munni fell off the Ikka and broke her front teeth. Or, that happened the year the Ganesh idol began drinking milk at the temple in the village, and then Ganeshji began to drink milk all over India. Or, that was the season when Jamman got smallpox. Or, a long description of that time when uncle fell from the roof and broke his leg, when the flood came and all the grain in the household and all the trunks, and we ourselves went and stood on the roof, and there were these huge snakes floating by in the water, which had turned the whole village into a pond, and the government brought flying beds, udan khatole, and lifted us up on rope ladders to shelter us at the hospital at that city nearby. But this is not that sort of time, nor that kind of Amma. Here, where everyone is coming, the old, of course, but the new, too, to speak a few words with Ma, collect the bags she had stitched, give her odds and ends from their house so she could make something from those too, or have a snack or tea break. It's no surprise when Sid shows up as well, always the type of kid to appear unannounced and for no clear purpose. At the first opportunity, that is, as soon as he had finished his assignment in the US, he showed up to scold, Granny, Granny, first you vanish, now you're partying away at Auntie's. Mischief the moment I leave? Historians are always hypothesizing that which date, which event occurred. They scurry about trying to classify events as major and minor. Who knows, they might get interested in researching which day Sid arrived to shower Granny with love and scolding. Before Rosie or after? Before KK or after? Before Ma fell or after? Before the hospital or after? Storytellers are 1,000 times better than historians. They describe whatever draws their interest, whether it's the small moments or the big. So Amma's grandson did arrive, on whatever day it was. His aunt opened the door and again stood flabbergasted, as though she didn't recognize the person standing there. How could she be seeing her nephew in the house from which she usually departed to see her own parents? But we can also ask how long it will take for Betty to grow accustomed to the fact that it's common Indian behavior for people to show up at any time. You may not recognize them all, and anyway, they are coming more to see Ma than you. If you don't even say much of a hi, hello to the people at your society, what would you know about relations built on borrowing a cup of sugar and a daub of curd? Or exchanging plantings and clippings? Ma had created a garden on the balcony. A neighbor visited. Mataji, can you just tell the gardener to look down when he's watering the plants? We put our chairs out on our balcony and have breakfast at the table down there. And yesterday evening, water sprayed down on it. Watering. Please forgive me. Oof, silly old me. Useless old lady. So blind, so stupid. And the complainer burst out laughing and sat right down and snacked on something with Ma and examined the garden and later came back to get some stalks that you just stick in the dirt and they grow thick with fine leaves and red berries. Ma told Betty later. Meaning the neighbor had come to complain and only left after nabbing a bite and swiping a plant. What's more, every single year there was a fight over whether any trees needed to be cut back. But the society residents didn't even have that fight with Ma. In that city, where park meant car park, Ma was delighted to see so many flowers and foliage. She forbade the gardener from cutting back the tree branches. He laughed. Mataji, I'll listen to you. Behenji is also always arguing about it, but they will still go and get them pruned every year. Ma was astonished. Arre, but why make enemies of the nice innocent trees? Who knows, Mataji? They say trees bring in all sorts of pests, bugs, cockroaches, and spiders, then lizards, and squirrels, mice, and birds. They climb the trees and look in and see the juicy fruit on the tables. Cats sneak in to hunt for them. Monkeys are so greedy anyway, and snakes have been slithering through for centuries. Thieves then catch on and commit theft via the trees. Indeed, said Ma, lowering at him. So that's why all this, to get rid of them. Cut them down, trim the branches. Come on then, do the pruning. I'm standing right here. She stood by like a sentry, brandishing her cane as if it were a gun. No, we don't want more sunlight. Yes, we want thieves and snakes. The gardeners, the guards, everyone laughed. But Mataji was Mataji. The society could not fight her. Everyone came to see her. Betty just opened the door and made way though she were stationed there to welcome guests into someone else's house. Yes, Aunt, Sid laughed. It is I, your favorite nephew. Sid, U.S. return. Sid, fresh from the American oven. That's America for you. Some stay just a couple of days in its oven and come out an American loaf. They forget all other languages and tastes, sound even more American than the Americans. But others stay there their entire lives and still remain Bhojpuri breads, bati and litti. Some are frosted with American icing. Some remain smeared in sugar cane, gur, cow dung. One door stays forever open, another closes but then opens again, and the insider stands and stares foolishly like an outsider. Ma looks like she is unfurling the sun all over the house. It's a bolt of fabric, its golden strands strewn about in the process. The sun shimmering. This I saw, I'm telling you. Taking the mic from the people saying nonsensical things about Desi and American accents, so they'll stop talking and I can begin my own narration, because that's how life goes. Sometimes one person narrates, sometimes another. Rock, bird, tree, water, too narrate. Sometimes we think we are sharing our take, but it turns out to be yours. And sometimes it's me and my take on whatever, and I am the one saying it. What happened was that we had just left the airport when Sid had an idea. Come on, let's go surprise Granny. His aunt's house was pretty much on the way. So the two of us went swinging straight into the house on fragments of sunlight, smeared in the dust of America. The guard, seeing the international tags on our bags, didn't make us fill out the register, nor did he phone ahead. We just popped up at the door, buzzed. A maid opened it. Sid's aunt's head, bent over the table on the other side of the bookshelf, popped up like a balloon, followed by the rest of her. She didn't seem to recognize us. But Granny was wandering about the house with an entirely different ebb and flow, a bobbing along balloon. Early morning walk, Granny? For my belly, my child. Granny embraced him. Then me too. Great to see you up and about, I said. Yes, it's happened. I have barged my way in again, after promising I'd be gone for good. I know full well this world will go on without me, that it'll keep on keeping on. It's not like I'm some kind of witness to a murder, although we could start a separate debate about what exactly counts as a murder nowadays, or a witness, for what matter. Who saw Salman Khan kill that deer? Did he himself drive his car over the poor people sleeping on the pavement? Or was it his driver? Or what was the crime? And who was the criminal? And who were the criminals and who the upholders of the law in the Dadri lynching? And among those cow protectionists? To the point that when it comes to patriotism and treason, the law is awfully confused as to who, what, where, when, which books, which punishments, what manipulations, what tweakings, and so on and so forth. So who has been murdered and who is the witness? But wait, there's no murder here, just a rainbow. It's possible that if it weren't for me, it would have gone unnoticed yet again. But I immediately took note. And anyway, he who's got nothing to gain or lose from the story can see it because he stands aloof. Unlike the character standing in the middle, silent, external, what else has he got to do? Just look, listen, sniff, enjoy. Even more neutral than Nirmal Verma's famously detached characters. Me, with Sid. I'm going to leave, how can I not? But until then, I'll continue to gaze at the scene. I wasn't there when Granny went missing, nor when she came to Beti's home, the home of Sid's aunt, for a change of scene, and so that the government bungalow could be vacated and the new house set up for her in the meantime. But I was there then, when she was cheerfully telling Sid all about her constipation problems. If constipation is the problem, Granny, then a small stick-sized solid is the equivalent of a pitcherful of water. Sid was going on with his usual bullshit, at which I laughed, and Auntie said, "Shut up. What is this icky stuff you're saying?" Granny looked pleased, as though her constipation had improved just by talking about it. I liked Granny's new groove, bobbing along, bob up, bob down, hollowed in sunshine. A kite or a balloon. Perhaps the thing she was wearing, that ankle-length gown, was what made her look like a balloon or a kite. We found out that Rosie Bua had them made for her. I vaguely recalled her coming that evening. We heard she was dropping by fairly frequently, doing a lot for Granny, and that these boxes, lids, racks, cartoon, pots, baskets, buttons, trimmings were from the whole neighborhood, and Granny was planning with Rosie Bua to turn them into containers, fruit bowls, toys, bags. I was given an ashtray, but instructed not to smoke. The rest Rosie Bua takes to sell somewhere. 50% of the proceeds goes to the children's home, and the rest Rosie donates for the needs of her community. Sid suggested a name. Open an online shop called Odds and Ends. Why not an Indian name? Granny asked. Not a chance, Sid told her. Look around you. Velvet Hotel, Sweet Dream Guest House, Snow White Beauty Parlor, comedy nights. And I added one of my own, Sid instead of Siddharth. Rosie liked the name when she came. She wasn't there yet. At that moment, it was just us. Granny informed Sid's aunt and the maid that since the kids have just arrived from abroad, today we'll have real Indian food, the works. Sid's father was also reached by phone, informed that we would arrive from the airport and would go over there after our feast. First there was bathing to be done, then an unplanned but fully expected nap. We both lay down and fell asleep on Granny's bed because the trinkets and such and odds and ends were all laid out in the guest room. We fell asleep and didn't wake up till evening. Actually, wake up is kind of a stretch. More like we were woken up. Auntie said to get over jet lag, we needed to return to this time zone as quickly as possible. Otherwise, we would never fall asleep at night. And in the pink rays of the setting sun, we feasted on Granny's stupendous lunch-turn dinner. That was when Sid took out the wine we had bought on the plane. He poured it into glasses and said, "Let's celebrate the return of Granny." "And of you," said Aunt. "A drop for Granny," said Sid, as he lifted the glass to his lips. And then that thing happened that had happened before. The last ray of the sun bounced off Granny's eyes, and a rainbow floated in the wine. I saw it. I looked up to see if there was a rainbow in the sky too. Was it reflected on Granny's face? And I became confused. Had I imagined the one I saw before, at that lunch party? Or was I imagining the same sight today? That is a spilling rainbow. This is the final frontier for me. Granny objected, throwing her head back. "No, no, but pretend like. It will be bitter," she said, making a face. "How would you know?" Sid teased. "Busted. So this is what you were up to with Grandpa." "Is the taste of alcohol something you can only know from actually drinking it?" Granny laughed. She took a sip, seemed pleased. "And now," said Sid with his signature bluntness, "Granny will tell us where she ran off to." Just like that. He said it casually, in a way no one else could have pulled off. What with all their vagueness? To put the Buddha in Rosie's care. She had a train to catch. She left me at the corner and ran off. She said, "You can see the gate from here." But Granny walked right past the gate, passing gate after gate, identical gate. "Incredible," said Sid, and held up his glass. "I'm pretty sure Granny sneaked a few more sips. Perhaps in the heat of the moment, or because everyone was feeling so free, as though nothing was forbidden anymore. Or I'll give everything a try on my way out. Or because everything was so interesting, and the rainbow was the result of that effervescence." Aunt poured her a bit from her glass. "So I did too." Sid joked that we were being called the drunks when in fact the real drunk was Granny. Granny raised her cane to smack him. Rainbow and butterflies leapt with it. It's possible I'm giving the rainbow special importance out of a sense of guilt to justify my return to these pages. Therefore, I feel obliged to say, I saw the rainbow. So what if I did or didn't? Whether the rainbow started in the sky or arced into the sky from Granny's eyes, how does it matter? It's normal for colors from one place to spill into another. If everyone's happy, that's fine. Nothing else special was going on, and I didn't choose to come. Sid and I had returned together. He hadn't even consulted me, just brought me along. Otherwise, I would have gone back to my place from the airport. If everyone welcomes me, I'm happy to go along. Otherwise, don't I know they are the ones who belong here and I'm just a bit player? Damn it, no one else is saying anything. I'm cursing at myself for no good reason and trying myself in knots, as though no one else ever went anywhere for no good reason. From now on, maybe I'll just say no to Sid for my own peace of mind. See, I bow deep in a farewell salam. We shall not meet again. But the shorts and t-shirt belong to Sid's aunt's ex. Those will have to be returned. And the clothes I took off and put in the laundry basket when they told me to, I'll have to get those back as well. But I'll send someone else to get them. Or even if I drop in, I'll keep my distance from the domain of this story and beat a hasty retreat. Life goes on outside these pages too. I'll just leave my clothes where they lie. Stories often have huge gaps. No one will ever notice this one. Chapter 39. People who extol murder and mayhem consider peace and quiet tomb-like. Some may call a river wet, a desert dry. They consider a groping molester a macho dude, and they call fortunate the woman who he controls and beats to a pulp. If something is all gussied up, it's a shop, and if it's crammed full of stuff, it's life. Streetwise things stay on the street, homely things stay at home. The layer that forms on ghee is called chadan, on milk it's cream. You mix dew into cream and get a Banarsi malayo, whip cream into yogurt and make Punjabi lassi. Rain falls in the rainy season, the loo blows in summer. The body of the mother speaks a new language, the heart of the daughter twangs like a busted drum. The shrinking woman compresses herself ever smaller, ever lighter. The growing bigger woman gets stuck in her wrinkles, which makes her slow to fall asleep at night and slow to wake up in the morning. The rainy season's here, but that doesn't ensure rain. Willful weather becomes manipulated, and man is a know-it-all who actually knows very little, just struts about, but ultimately returns to God, because everything is God willing. When the breeze doesn't sway gently like Ma, it whooshes viciously. Then it doesn't. But raindrops cascade or drip drop in tiny streams and wander about the house. Betty, this side or that of sleep, starts when the lightning flashes zips up, and the clouds thunder crash bang, and the branches scratch and scream and hammer away crying. Let us in. Why have you thrown us out? Oh, the majesty of nature. It contains all the expressions in the world. One need only catch the melody from nature, heart and soul entrusted to the wind. When the clouds lower, the heart of the heroine is filled with longing as in Kalidas' play Meghadutam. When blossoms bloom, the food dances and evokes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In a drop of dew, Tagore discerned in cosmos. In the lull of wind, Aristotle's philosophy wakes. If you cry, your heart trembles like a paper boat in the rains. A robust heart swings gaily on the sunlight and the moonlight and the raindrops. The drops shimmer, swaying like streamers, and play on Amma who has risen from lying prone. She walks about peacefully, but everything around her is frisky, frolicsome, and fun. Ma walks, peaceful though grave, happy though quiet. When she sleeps, she is serene. When she speaks, then too. She rests within the new uncurling place which has begun unfurling from inside to out. And the birds get to know her as they fly into her orbit. Chapter 40. One bird comes daily and whistles, sweeping up and down with its tune, coquettish at times, mournful at others. Hey, Baji, who's that dude whistling? One day Rosie jumped up as if to say, "Whoo, boy, let me at him." "Come now, it's a bird," Ma scolded. "A whistle, long, a changed tune. It's a blackbird." A blackbird. A storytelling whistle invoking the past, like a call coming from far off. Amma purses her lips and blows. Rosie imitates her. Both attempt to whistle. The bird falls silent. Rosie and Ma fall silent. The bird whistles again. They too produce another whistle. The three in unison. Betty turns the key in the lock of the house. Is that whistling coming from my home? The door is already open. Rosie and Amma are the ones making the whistling sounds. Then silence. Then the bird. As though the bird is teaching them. Another whistle. You see? Rosie's voice. Sprinkle it, Ma's voice. And the sky fills with stars. 41. There was no longer any reason for Ma to fall, which is why she fell. She whistles. She blows kisses at the plants and tenderly caresses every leaf on every tree branch. Earlier she had done so to wipe them clean and make them shine. But now the rains have come, it's just because to shower them with love. Sometimes she rubs fennel in the mortar or crushes garlic or pounds roasted spice. The fragrance wafts. She rises on her own. She bathes on her own. She makes tea herself. She feeds herself, feeds others. She greets people passing the house below with a namaste. Ho ho, hello. She sits alone chattering with herself, or the sky, and the trees. But it's a strain on the ears if you're trying to listen in, and she produces all sorts of other noises. Moans, sighs, sobs, shrieks, all filled with the joys of pain. Of course, she speaks to others too. Mother-daughter time, Rosie Baji time, hello goodbye time. And if sits there, she even takes a few sips of beer or wine. One time KK opened the cognac and poured some out for her. First she made a face. Then she added honey, at which Betty raised a cry of cognac murder. But Ma licked her lips and went on to develop a taste for her invention, to the point that when she had emptied her glass, she would say, "Pour a little cold water into my glass. We shouldn't waste any drops." But the story doesn't end here. Now that she can move about on her own, she starts putting her cane to non-cane uses, like fishing sandals out from under the takht, pushing the window shut, shooing away the lizard on the wall outside, itching her soles, waving it to make a point as though delivering a PowerPoint presentation, making music on the walls and floor like a conductor waving her baton, as though she is Yehudi Menuhin, straightening out flipped mats and rugs without bending down, ticking ants, etc. She talks on the phone. She's telling someone how she feels pain right where the shoulder joins the torso, just a bit, and maybe that's what they call frozen shoulder. I lifted this much, but further, ow, I can't do it. She's explaining this as though there were a pair of binoculars at the other end of the line, by which the listener can see what parts of the limb she can and cannot raise. She's explaining as though every pang is filled with sweetness, worth caressing with words. The same with the ear. Stop, I'll sit down. I'll put it on the left ear. The right one's blocked. No, no, it's not the monsoon air. They just shrink with age. They say the hole gets smaller. I hear 50% less than I did, or rather 60. Same when she shows the swelling in her feet and legs. Look, the right one is different from the left. Same when she says her bone tail hurts, by which she means her tailbone. Same as how she tells people about her constipation and how much more came out this morning. It's the same routine all day long, continued attempts into the afternoon. Get up and go. Drink tea and sit down. Go again after strolling about. Have some fruit and give it a try. After breakfast, back on the throne. I take Bell. I have tried everything. Trifala, gastronome, softovec, loose, isabgol. I only eat boiled vegetables. I always feel something is heavy and hanging there. The flesh itself has started to hang. That's what gives me that feeling as well. Yesterday I took loose both times, and then Rosie kicked up a fuss and rolled her eyes and asked, "Are you going to administer the whole cure yourself, or will you leave the doctor something to do?" These are daily occurrences. Who would bother giving them the something's up label? Like how population growing about horrendous every day has become so commonplace. There is nothing worth remarking on. Hitler's gas chamber drama was not a quotidian affair. So yes, something did happen there. When they say something happened, we mean something a bit dramatic. When notes suddenly become a useless piece of paper. When there's a 20-car pile-up on the Agra Expressway. When Bangalore Lake catches fire. When an expert guide carefully shepherds tourists along a narrow snowy path in Kashmir and then suddenly flips over backwards himself and lands spread-eagled in the snow, or when a mother falls down in her daughter's home. There was no reason for such an occurrence. It happened just like that, for no rhyme or reason.